Rat torture. One of the nastiest classics. A cage or pot full of hungry rats is strapped to the victim's stomach or back. Heat is applied to the opposite side so the rats burrow through flesh to escape. Used by ancient Persians, medieval Europe, and even in some 20th century conflicts. Slow psychological horror plus physical destruction. Water torture or waterboarding. The victim is strapped down, head tilted back, cloth over the face, water poured over it simulates drowning. Feels like actual suffocation, even though they don't usually die right away. CIA used it post 9/11. Spanish Inquisition loved it too. Quick to break people mentally. Leaves few visible marks. The pear of anguish. A pear-shaped metal device inserted into mouth, vagina, or anus. Then a key is turned to slowly expand the segments, tearing tissue from the inside. Designed for confession or punishment, especially against sodomites or heretics in medieval times. The expansion could literally split someone open. Breaking wheel. Victim tied to a large wooden wheel. Executioner smashes limbs with an iron bar or hammer, breaking bones one by one. Then the broken body is woven through the spokes and left on display to die slowly from exposure, dehydration, or infection. Super common in medieval Europe for serious crimes. Scold's bridle or brank. Iron mask with a spiked tongue depressor forced into the mouth, locked around the head and paraded through town. Mainly used on women accused of gossiping or scolding. Humiliation plus pain if they try to speak. Spikes would cut the tongue. Flaying. Skinning alive. A knife or hook peels the skin off in strips or whole pieces. Aztecs did it ritually. Some medieval torturers used it for punishment. Victim bleeds out fast or dies from shock or infection. One of the most agonizing because nerves stay exposed. Judas cradle. A pyramid-shaped wooden or metal seat. The victim is lowered onto a sharp point which enters the anus or vagina. Weights added to the legs pull them down further. Slow impalement over hours or days. Used in the Spanish Inquisition. Combination of tearing and crushing. Iron Maiden. A tall metal cabinet with spikes on the inside. The victim is locked in and the door closes slowly. Spikes pierce but void vital organs, so death takes time. Actually more myth than fact. Most real ones are 19th century fakes for museums. Still, the idea terrified people. Bastinado. Beating the soles of the feet with rods, canes, or whips. Ottoman Empire and Middle East favorite. Bones shatter, nerves fry, walking becomes impossible for weeks or forever. Pain shoots up the legs, but no blood usually. Clean torture. Strapado. Hands tied behind the back, rope over pulley, hoisted up by wrists, then dropped suddenly. Shoulders dislocate, sometimes tear completely. Repeated drops break more. Used by the Inquisition and many armies. Simple setup, devastating results. Brazen bull. A hollow bronze bull statue. The victim is locked inside, fire is lit underneath it, and screams echo through pipes to sound like a bull roaring. Invented in ancient Sicily, supposedly used by Phalaris. Slow roasting alive, smoke inhalation, and burns kill over hours. Thumb screws. Small vice-to-vice clamps thumbs or fingers and toes, slowly tightened, crushing bones and flesh. It's cheap, portable, and used everywhere from medieval Europe to colonial prisons. Pain scales up fast, forces confessions quickly. Boiling or frying. Submerged in boiling water, oil, or pitched, or fried in a pan. Ancient Romans, Chinese, and medieval Europe all used variations. Skin blisters and peels instantly. Organs cook. One of the fastest but most horrific deaths. The heretic's fork. A metal collar with a two-pronged fork, one end under the chin, the other against the chest, forces the head in awkward position. Any movement stabs the throat or sternum. Worn for days, prevents sleep or eating. Used during Inquisition for heretics. Scaphism. or the boats. The victim is trapped between two boats, force-fed milk and honey, and then left in the sun. Bugs, flies, and maggots infest the body while they slowly rot alive. Persian method, described by Plutarch, could take weeks. Diarrhea, gangrene, insects eating from inside and out. Ling Chi, or death by 1,000 cuts, the slow slicing of flesh in small pieces, arms, legs, torso, cut bit by bit while keeping victim conscious, a Chinese punishment for treason until the early 20th century. Executioners were skilled to prolong agony for hours. The rack. A stretching device, wrists and ankles tied to rollers, turned slowly to stretch the body. Joints pop, ligaments tear, sometimes the spine separates, a medieval classic for extracting confessions. Pain is constant and builds forever. The iron boot or Spanish boot. Metal boot clamped around a foot or leg. Wedges or screws are driven in, crushing bone gradually. Used in Europe for centuries, the foot becomes pulp, infection almost guaranteed if they survive. Keel hauling. A sailor is tied to a rope, thrown overboard, and dragged under the ship from one side to the other. Barnacles and hull tear the skin off usually. Used by Dutch and English navies. Drowning, lacerations, or sharks often finish the job. Impaling. A stake is driven through the body, anus up through the mouth, or variations. Vlad the Impaler made it famous. Upright stake, victim slid down slowly over days, slow death from blood loss, organ rupture, or shock. Chinese water torture. The victim is restrained flat on their back, head immobilized so they can't move even an inch. A single drop of water falls from above, usually onto the forehead, every few seconds. At first it's just annoying. Hours turn into days. The constant predictable drip starts driving people insane. The brain can't tune it out, and the repetition turns into unbearable psychological torment. Supposedly used in ancient China, though the name might be more a Western myth, but it became famous through stories and experiments showing how minimal stimulus can break a mind. No blood, no scars, just pure mental collapse. Some say victims would beg for actual pain instead.